super interesting projects this week that I'm really excited about. And my plan for this is to just vlog the whole week. I have a reinstallation on this roof today. I'm gonna be showing some things I don't like, honestly, about it and how I'm gonna deal with it. And then tomorrow I have 2 removal jobs where I'm gonna be able to just go in blind, remove the system, and then kind of show, just discover, you know, learn things about the system, just like taking apart the TV remote. So first off, I'm like, there's no, I don't even know how to say this. There's no ventilation on this roof. So I removed these solar panels. It's getting a re-roof. First thing I noticed when I come up here, no ridge vent, no turtle vents. I've seen like excess granule loss and premature failures on roofs with solar panels where the ventilation wasn't adequate. So I'm gonna say something to the roofer and just say, this is what I recommend, this is what I saw, here's the photos. If you want to talk to the homeowner about that, that's your deal. But I'm just, you know, making sure I told you, I guess. The other thing I'm interested about is that pipe vent that's super long. That one was like cut flush and put underneath a solar panel. And they obviously went in the attic and cut it, put a coupler in there and stuck it out really high for me to do whatever with. This one was gapped on solar panels. And I really, like, I really can't decide how I want to deal with those types of situations. Do you chop vents? Do you not chop vents? Does it make the system look cleaner? Does the fart fan or the plumbing or something, you know, vent well enough? I guess the worry would be if there isn't proper ventilation, your house is going to start to stink, because that flow of how the plumbing works and everything is going to be impeded. And is it causing like moisture underneath the solar panels? I'll let you know what I decide to do on that. We have a large north-facing array and then a ton of panels crammed on the south-facing array. So not the best situation, but I'm gonna go ahead and chalk some lines and lay out the whole system and then kind of make some decisions on what I do here. So I really like the box in my array like that, where I have the bottom and top rail, and then I have the first rafter. And when you create that, you create like 2 reference points, or a reference point between the system where you can pull out accurate measurements and get those attachments on. And then it just seems like you get less misses and the system ends up being more square on the roof when you do that. So kind of my preference. All right, that's how I like it marked out. You got the orange chalk lines, it's not permanent. You have the red marks for the panel, and then you have the yellow marks. That's where the rafters are at. Like we did earlier, we squared that array. This pipe vent, I was able to gap it between the 2 panels there. This one, there's just nothing I can do about it. If I was installing this system from the beginning, I think I would have just gapped a whole panel there, or gapped 2 panels or something and left that up. But I'm just gonna have to cut it, make sure that boot is good, leave as much coming through the boot as possible, but enough gap between the panel that it actually vents. Maybe I'll cut it at an angle, but don't love it. I guess it just is what it is. My hands are kind of tied here and I hate it, but do the best I can with what I have to work with. But all this looks good. We got 8 panels portrait, 2 and 2 panels landscape, gapped right here. I don't know, maybe they thought it would look better if it was flush on either end. I'm gonna drill and get attachments in. Something that I didn't like about the original installation was when they chalked these lines, they chalked them really low. So the flashing overhung the shingle line and it wasn't flashed up very far, and they sent it on keyways. It was a 3-tab and they had it right on the keyway for like almost every flashing. And I just felt like there's bad water intrusion and everything. So I'm gonna be using, let's see if we got it in here, a rubberizing sealant. This is just what I picked up at my local hardware store. Most solar installers like M1, but some kind of like rubberizing sealant that's more made for like chimneys. If it's good weather outside, I highly recommend something like this. If it's too hot, or if it's too cold, or if it's wet, that's a no-go. You need to use some kind of wet patch. In my experience, that's gonna be your only and best option, because it won't cure. If it's wet, it's just gonna be like you put nothing down. You might as well just not even seal anything on the roof. And that's the other thing, is there wasn't any sealant on these attachments. So this is what I'm trying to kind of go with, is where the flashing is at the bottom. Ideally, or in the instruction manuals, you'll probably have this bracket go all the way up to here, and you'll have this flashing go up under the next shingle course. But when I'm removing solar panel systems, I see correctly installed flashings leak at the 7 to 10 year mark because of the damage done to the upper shingle line when installing them. So it's wrong, but from my experience, real world conditions, against what the manufacturer says, I think it's better to low mark those, but don't low mark them too low. And the compression and properly installed sealant will do all of the heavy lifting. Good. So if I were to say miss this one, watch what it does. I'm gonna try to miss it. I'm gonna try to miss it right here. No, I'm gonna actually go with that one. Okay, I'm gonna try to miss this one. Oh, you see it? See it? It pulled me down. If you ever get pulled this way, the rafter, what you're doing is you're hitting the edge of the rafter and skimming off it, not going into it. So it's not this way, it's this way. Like that. So, got all the hardware in. I'm using a string line right here. Always like doing this, where I just kind of string between the bottom and the top rail, and then take all the rails right there and then set them in here and make the array just nice and square and level. Just makes it look so much better. So it doesn't take that much more time, and it's like costs like $5 to get a string line and a couple alligator clips. Make it tight like that and just pinch it on. Get this over a little bit where you want it. I'm gonna go ahead and string all those. It's like super hard to trace circuits. So I got my notepad right here. What is it? 3/4 inch rain tight connector box. This is my notepad. I'm gonna try to draw out this roof and redesign the system, because a lot of times when these systems are installed, it's not optimized, or it's incorrect, or I just can't even wrap my head around where the wires go and what they originally did. So it's just best to like redo it and redesign it as if you're doing a new install. So I'm gonna kind of walk you through that. North face, we have a 5, 4, 4, and 4. Then on the south face, we have an 8, 8, and 2, and a 2. What I'm gonna do is these 8 panels right here make a perfect 16, which is probably the max for the wattage. It's like just over 5,000 watts. But physically it's gonna be easier to take 2, 6, and 8 and tie it into a box right here, and then take these 2 and these 2 and tie it into the box. So I'll have a string going over here of 4 and a string of 16. The string of 16 goes straight to the inverter down here. Now the 4 here, these 4 panels right here are going to connect with these 4 and these 4, series connection, not parallel, go to the inverter, and then I'll have another string of 16. Then I'm just going to take the 4 and 5 for a 9, which is getting close to the minimum, but it's okay. I'm same azimuth, close together, everything. I feel all right about it, and so I'll have 16, 16, and 9. So it's actually been 24 hours. The roof got too hot. We ended up calling it a day. So it's the following morning, and we got solar panels put on. I'm not telling this story very well of everything that we ended up doing on this job in order to like make it the best we could with what we're working with. But that's kind of just the struggles of like owning a business and trying to film content. Is I got 2 removals that I need done today, and I need to be done by about like 4 o'clock. And I want you guys to see both of those removals. So I'm gonna skip over from this installation that we're wrapping up early this morning and go do those tear-offs and film a little bit more content there. So if you got any questions about this job or any of the things we ended up doing, comment below and I'll try to watch those and respond to you. Let's go remove some solar panels. This is my favorite part of my job. Just getting started on the next removal job. Dude, I love it when solar companies put their stickers in here. This was Alpenglow Solar and Electric. That's a company I used to work for. I did commercial sales for them. Anytime I get one of their installs, I know exactly what I'm getting into. It's really consistent, it's really quality. They're one of those older companies that started doing solar way before it was cool in the state. But they're the company that got me on a roof for the first time, and I fell in love with solar as far as like the rooftop installation portion. After getting up on a roof with those guys one time, installing some solar panels, getting a feel for the electronics, but it's pretty interesting. I'll show you what we got here. Installation, 2 rows, 21 panels, got Enphase microinverters, snap and rack racking, got this Solidite box. I'm super interested to see how they terminate these conductors, so let's pop this open real quick. This is hard to do one-handed. Okay. And drop 0 screws. Got it. Into the rail. Oh, perfect. Beautiful. Pull this trunk cable out. Move that to the side. See if I can get in there to get that screw out. Got it. Look at that. Solid. Wire nuts facing up. Nice pre-twist. Wire nuts made by Ideal. I really like theirs. Let's see. Got 10 gauge going through the attic. Little pigtail on the ground. Solid 6 gauge copper. This has obviously been up here for like 10 years, and there's a reason why. This looks good. 9 23, 2015. 1 of 1. Cool. I assume that might be job 1442, which would be wild. So the plan for this job is I'm gonna just go ahead and remove these solar panels, and if I wanna see something interesting, if there's anything I like or don't like, I'm gonna just like grab the camera and show you what we got, what we're looking at, so. It's down pretty good. That's interesting, take the leads, wrap them around. See that. Take the wires, wrap them around the micro. Get some slack on those. Oh, that one's stuck. Panels are hot. Oh, it's moving on me. Get that fuck together. Grab the next panel. Seems a little tight. Almost feels stripped. Let's see what we got here. Same kind of setup. See if I can finagle this. They make tools for this, but I guess you can just use your fingers. You're born with tools. They're called your hands, your nails, your teeth. Get this in there. Sometimes you gotta fight these old ones. They just don't want to come off. Yeah, it just seems tight. I wonder if it's getting hot. Okay, that one's fine. One at a time, please. So I found a couple things that were interesting that I'm gonna point out. The first being this pipe vent right there is capped. So I figure what they did is rather than just cutting it and letting it vent under the array or gapping the panels, I'm assuming that they capped it in the attic and then increased the size of that vent or popped it up there, like relocated it, is gonna be my guess. Hopefully it's not just capped. And then the other thing, which I see all the time with this installer, is they double up the ends on all their arrays, but there's not two rafters right here. So one of these is, I bet you anything, look at that, it wiggles. That's a toggle bolt. I've seen them do this all the time. Those leak like crazy, but it's a toggle bolt, not a lag. And then this one hit the rafter and it's solid. Oh, look at those misses. Miss, 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 miss. Please grab your hammer. And then the last thing I was gonna point out is these white marks right here is sealant that was applied to this upper row of shingles, because when you put this flashing in, these old ones are so tall that you pop the nails out in this shingle course. That's proper install.
and then flashing under here. The only problem is you usually mangle these shingles in the tar strip. And so what I found is that these attachments will leak, not here, but here. And so they gulped the crap out of any of them that were a little bit sus. But like, other than those two things, like, this installation looks really clean. It looks really clean. It was in 2015. That's like back before solar panel installations were cool in Utah. Like, nobody had solar back then. System was functioning when I got here, and it's just really cool to see these systems last 10 years, pay for themselves. A customer gets a re-roof, I get to reinstall it on a new roof, and then hopefully it lasts another 10 years of, you know, good electricity for this home. So I'm at my last removal for the week. Here's the last job. I'm gonna kind of give you a look around. Everything looks like it is Solar Edge. So old Solar Edge inverter. Cause like we got, oh, it says 19 out of 19. 18 out of 19. 19 out of 19. Optimizer's working. Toggled that over. It is by Synergy Power. Synergy. So, yeah, I just got a chance to talk to the homeowner about the system, and this is like one of the happy service calls. He got this system over 10 years ago. All of his panels are working, his inverter's working. He's had no issues with the system. With the tax credits and the, you know, credits from the power company, the system's paid for itself and some, and everything looks to be in good condition. We have Solar World panels, out of business manufacturer, but look good. Snap and rack racking. Just a, you know, a clean little install. But this is pretty cool, because what I can do is learn from this situation is, like, this system's been on his roof for 10 years, has had no service calls, no failures. It's in perfect condition. And what did the installers do correctly? So that's what I'm really going to be looking for, as far as the system didn't leak, it didn't fail. It's kind of like a success story. So I'm going to be taking the panels off the roof on this job and kind of just, you know, showing you what I find on it. MC4 connectors, or PV connectors, inside the rail. That's interesting. Sometimes I see this bolt screw down far enough that it'll pinch them, or pinch the wires. Or some people say that having water and moisture kind of building up in this channel can cause this to fail, but 10 years, no failures. These connectors look like they're okay. Go ahead and take this. I don't know if I can get that over. Yeah, no marks on it, no pinch, no nothing. Flashings, that's installed really low, and I get why they do that. You know, there's just a lot of room for like water to come in this direction. This one's installed a little bit higher. We'll see how damaged that shingle line is. You can see it's missing a nail right there because they had to pop that nail out in order to get that in, but looks okay. Open up the box. What do we got here? So one string. Okay. So I guess number 8 ground, 8 solid, PV wire, 10 gauge THHN, and that's interesting. They have this entire system on one string, which I think it was two 65 watt panels, 19 of them. What's the math on that? 19 times 265. That works. It's interesting that I as these solar panels have become higher wattage, you have to do more circuits because the amperage output's more. So all of this is on one circuit, 19 panels on one circuit. Those days are over.
It's low, and then this little pigtail right here will hopefully keep these wires from sliding through. So, not so much excess. Oh, come on. Bee nest. Bees are scared of me. See how bad that bee nest is in there? Getting stung today. Oh, it's I don't know if this is common knowledge or whatever, but in some desperation, found out that WD-40 makes fantastic bee killer. So you can put like a little edge around, like a mesh around your array to keep the birds out. Really seeing no good solution for bees. Kills them. Look at that. Some Amphenol connectors. You can see that. You know they have these sides on them, but so there's a long story to that. What happened with Amphenol, and I've heard a lot of different people give different impressions. Right here, marking on the solar panel, you can see that's actually one of the problems with the wrap and slap, where you coil up the wires, put them kind of over top of the rail, and then pinch it between the panel. Is like you do get rubbing on the panel. You see the marks and discoloration and stuff where the leaves are coming up. So I'm gonna plug this solar panel into my off-grid solar panel system here. Let's see what wattage we get. 12 watts out of it. This is a good verification to know if those panels are working. I guess the sun is pretty low in the sky and it's just chilling at a flat angle. I'm curious to see what the power production is. As I'm taking off these connectors, I noticed this one was a little bit extra hard to take off. If you can see that, like look at the writing on that. You can see how deformed it is. This connector right here is more or less fried. It's like melted. And it is the Solar Worlds have Amphenols and the Solar Edge one has Amphenols. So I will need to cut this one off and re-crimp a connector on here and replace it. So those, I'm gonna check to see how many of those have failed. Obviously the panel is still producing power, but it's overheating and the connection hasn't completely failed, I'm gonna say. So, and then when I disconnect it, you can see that's the metal ferrule in there. The plastic sleeve has like melted to the inside of this one. Which, this is interesting because it just seems like, I thought that the solar panel connection was a low voltage connection. It's only like 40 volts. And then the home runs, those were actually high voltage connections. But maybe I'm wrong. I'm gonna put a new connector on this solar panel. I actually have, this is from Jonark Tools. I actually have a custom kit from Jonark Tools called like the Solar Essentials kit. And it comes with
some crimps and some essential tools for like putting these connectors on. I'm gonna show you, kind of run you through how I do it, but might as well fix it now rather than forget about it when I'm reinstalling the batteries.
So I'm gonna start just cutting off the bad connector. Right about, I think that's enough. Let's get me close. Oh, got it. Strip that wire back. Don't want to strip it back too far. Grab a new connector and a new piece right here. Grab the crimping tools. Place that guy around the wire. Just like that. Slide the new one on and twist. Sometimes it's good to use one of these wrenches. Other times you can kind of insert them together a little bit. Get some more leverage on it. There we go. Grab the pry bar. Like if you compare that flashing, how low it is, and this one, which was more properly installed. Curious to see what this looks like. That's a miss for sure. Watch this. Just a little bit of goop on there. Stainless steel lag screw. You can see it going sideways into the rafter. So I bet the rafter is like really right here instead of right there. It's good. I don't love installed on the single ports like that. It always surprises me what fails and what doesn't. Obviously the system had been working, like I mentioned, for 10 years. And it was still working when I showed up. But there were some things on the roof that were a little bit weird. Those brackets missing the rafter and then installed on the shingle course with very limited sealant. The flashings being installed like really low. I get like, there's a strategy to installing those flashings low, because you're not disturbing another shingle course above pulling nails out. So I agree with low installing those flashings, but you know, that's interesting. It seems like some of the brackets were over torqued, which I'm gonna have to replace those when we do the reinstallation on this roof. What else was interesting? The failed Amphenol connectors. There were a few infilled crimped Staubli connectors that had not failed, but at the same time, those connectors looked like they weren't, the back of them wasn't tightened down all the way on it. And that has been kind of known to fail, but that also depends on what type of PV wire you're using. Because some PV wire has a thinner jacket on it or a thicker jacket on it, and those connectors sometimes won't seal the way they're supposed to, based off of the wire, which, you know, is interesting, but none of those failed. Looks like all optimizers were working, all panels were working. I'm a little bit concerned now that the sun's higher in the sky about this panel right here. It's hooked up to my off-grid system and it's producing 21 watts. I don't know if you can see that. 21 watts. It's barely, and the sun's like right there. It's like almost ideal. But it's only producing 21 watts. I'm super interested to take like an IV curve tracer and like actually test these panels to see what they've degraded to in 10 years, or how good these old panels are, but they are producing electricity, so it kind of is what it is. But that concludes this week's vlog for, you know, these service calls. Hope that this was entertaining information, it was helpful, give you kind of an inside look
I, as a kid, would always take apart the TV remote and try to put it back together, and that's how I learned about electronics. So I think he might have been the same, taking things apart. So I really enjoy that, and you know, seeing with a neutral perspective what works and what doesn't work, not just being like, oh, this hack, that's a shitty install, this and that. It's like you can learn, you know, nothing failed on this system, although a lot of this stuff is like so please subscribe to the channel, comment, get involved. I would love to see your opinion and perspective on things, and you know, interact with people on YouTube. I've learned so much from the people who follow my content, who have a lot of experience, a lot of good ideas in what they comment. So that's very much appreciated. So I'll see you in the next video.